Hey everybody, Shamanic here for Shamanic Lodge. I've been asked, how do I decide where I'm going to be working next? Because they'll see me working in one area for a few years and then not really moving around much, see me locate someplace different. And I normally go through these like periods of time, 4 or 5 years. And then there'll be a time in between that where I come back into basically my own metamorphosis or cocoon or clearing period where I totally release the energies that I picked up or worked around, and I reform myself and prepare myself for the next series of events that I'm going to be working with. And how that usually works is during the clearing process or that time in between projects, someone will contact me. And it's not just one person, but a few different people will contact me and tell me these visions and so on. And I pretty much let the flow decide where I go after that. So, in other words, well, like right now, different people are approaching me from different areas, wanting to do different things. And I'll acknowledge these possibilities, saying thank you. You've got a great project, or working in one person with particular, and with that one person or maybe small group, I'll be traveling around within their region doing different things. Probably the most recent example is in the winter of 2014. I was in this phase where not much was happening. Things that I was trying to do would start off well, but then the people that I was working with would kind of fall off or just get distracted, and things would just close in good ways. And I used to do this ceremony in Miami on the beach. I'd just get waist up in water and just kind of like that was my prayers as the sun came up, and just because it most of the time it's like Lake Atlantic early in the morning, and just it was November 2014. I was just like, just put me back in. I want to go into some really cool projects. I want to go meet and work with some really good people, good heart. And I said, I'll go anywhere. I don't care at this point. Just put me back in. I want to feel the jazz, shamanic jazz. And January 2015, I found myself in Transylvania, part of Romania. Yes, my American friends, there's a place called Transylvania. And I saw Dracula's castle. And that was a 5-year journey. And that ended when I came back in February 2020. Great time. Really great time. And then so now so I've been here in Central Texas since then, and I look at the caliber of the seclusion and metamorphosis that I go through, and the length of time, the things that come to me, and that's part of the clearing process. So I've gotten down to this, going on 3 years, closing up 3 years of this really personal refinement, which tells me that the next phase that I go through is going to be either more intense. I'm going to be more into a really intense place. The last really intense place that I worked with was in Colombia, South America, and that was crazy. But I went through a real clearing period before that and after that. And so I let the people put forth the effort, and their effort that they put forth is what really brings in, kind of like the law of attraction, of the resources, energies, focus universally, shamanically, on the earth plane to get me to a location. And once I get to that new location, then the rest of the information comes into me of what I'm supposed to be doing there. This last time, like I said, in January, I'm standing on 4 feet of frozen snow in Transylvania, and I was like, what could I possibly be doing here? And it took me about 2 weeks before I really figured out, what I was supposed to be doing, as people started coming to me. And so a lot of times I get to these new areas, there'll be a plan, and then that plan can be modified, to say the least. That happened in Colombia. I went there to build a geomantic project, but that I was going to build one of the domes, one of the peace chambers, because the war there was at its peak. That was the only war on the planet that had 4 sides, And I was right in between, in an area between guerrilla territory and paramilitary territory. And it was intense. And I was in Bogota when Uribe was being inaugurated, and they were bombing it. There was just bombs going off all over the place. So the clearing part after that was, like I said, very intense to get through that. It's been a while since I've been through a war zone. So, but then that place just completely changed, and that was in 2002. I've gone to places when I was called to because of a void pulled me there. As an example, I had left in the spring of 2010, left Lake Worth, Florida, where I was working with environmental groups that just kind of flaked out. Then went into Fredericksburg area, Maryland, and for a quick project of just a couple months, and then got catapulted into Detroit. And I was like, I looked at it like, why here? And then they said, oh yeah, well, the shaman we had here recently died, and we did this community prayer to get a new shaman to the area. Okay. And so I was there, and as I tell people, the clock starts ticking. When I get to an area, I need to be busy, because gateways and opportunities don't stay open forever. And a lot of times people will initiate something, and then when the magic, so to speak, starts to happen, then they're like, well, wow, it worked. Now what? Well, now let's do the plan that you wanted to do. And so I did a lot of community gardening and things like that by myself. And then 1 year to the week later, I left there, and then all of a sudden the people are like, well, where are you going? We need you here. I'm like, I haven't done anything with you guys. Every idea that you came up with, I ended up doing by myself. It's time for me to go. And they actually got mad, like, sorry. Came back into the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, and tried to do different things there, but it just fizzled out. The energy that day was hot back in the end of the 80s and 90s, early 90s, and then just kind of fizzled, I bounced from project to project in the Asheville, North Carolina area. That was awesome. I love that area. And then went back 10 years later, and just to look at projects I did back then at the first trip. I really love that area. So like I said, so here, there's different people I'm working that would want me to come back into like Eastern Europe. And then I loved it there too. I did a lot of great things with people, really good people. And there's some people that would like me to do things in the States, but I'm waiting, to see whatever gets put into it and how to pull me. People ask me, where would I go in the States? Right now, the pull is to the northwest corner, Oregon, Washington area. I even had a contact a couple days ago from Northern California. And I haven't done, well, since in 93, I think it was, I went up into Washington State, Kent, Washington. That was interesting up there. And I haven't done anything up there since. So that's how that happens. So right now, the people say, well, where are you going to go next? Don't know. Those are the possibilities. So northwest corner of the United States and back into Eastern Europe. But again, travel restrictions, the pandemic, scamdemic thing, and threat of war. Who knows? We're waiting to see. Still working on my boat. And the funds that were coming in dwindled. That slowed down progress. Patreon was playing with my money. So was GoFundMe. And, who knows what's going to happen next. All I can say is I do wish, if I was going to put something out there, I wish I had more people to work with, especially academics. My working with Walter Spiegel in Dusseldorf, Germany, a lot of the clientele and audiences I spoke to were academics, and that was really great because of the questions that they ask. And these people are influencers. They influence through their work, through finances, business owners. I wish more people like that were in shamanism. The when I asked why they were attracted to my material, particularly in other shamans, is that they said because I use a practical application to everyday life. So I tell people this is how shamanism works in the 21st century and how it can help the everyday person. The biochemist I worked with in Hungary, it was nice to get feedback from her because she knew some of the energy healing work that I did with people, and would explain it from her point of view as a biochemist, which was really helpful for me. And it helpful for me because I could then study the medical books and understand more about the body process, and that gave me more to focus on when I'm actually doing my work. And you can direct the energy more directly, not just to an affected area, but for the process, in the body that's working to help facilitate the healing. I have, for the last couple of years, different types of engineers coming to me, because this is great too, because I love engineering in different forms. It's a real left brain process, and to be able to use metaphors from engineering into shamanic aspects is really helpful, because again, it helps direct the energies towards a specific target. And depending on the different types of engineers, you get a different set of metaphors or logic and practical application. So for those of you that are academically inclined, shamanism really isn't a bunch of new age foo-foo kind of bullshit. It's very practical. And it is, I consider it humanity's first science, because it's about curiosity, exploration. It's first spirituality, because it's not dogmatic. It's not like the first religion. It's a spiritual practice. And it also, especially if you're left brain inclined in a right brain world like shamanism, it does help us bring back the combination and unity of spirituality and everyday life. There shouldn't be a separation in my mind. There shouldn't be the separation that, oh, this is my spiritual life and then this is my everyday life. Because when people are doing it that way, it's just so different. And it really, I think it should be the same if it's going to be more harmonic. So that's my morning video for today. And if you're interested in me coming to your area, because I do workshops, the energy healing circles are always a success. I tell the people who are my promoters or have a venue, if you can get me into that area, I can get the people to come back. And I'll give you a step-by-step plan how to nurture those healing circles and other activities, and then just come back periodically. Now, to get me into an area, how I do it is you pay for my travel expenses and lodging to get there and back, and then we'll talk about it after that, how that works. But that's my priority, because too many times in my earlier days I paid to go get somewhere because people have said they were interested in me doing things, and it was just expenses out of my pocket. I just don't do that anymore. For areas that are really like in Colombia, the money exchange difference is very, very different. I kind of ask the shamanic flow, help the resources come in, and I'll go to that area. And so, but I tell my promoters, you can do the same thing. You can ask the shamanic flow, universal energy, to help fund me to get to that location, and see what happens. Until then, I go back into mundane life. It's cooler here in Central Texas. Do a little bit more farm stuff, moving animals around, and then when it gets a little warmer in the barn, I go back to building my boat. And catch you guys later.